At 86, Tom Brokaw has finally spoken candidly about Savannah Guthrie, and what he disclosed about her mother has the power to completely alter how this disappearance is understood. It is Monday night, February 9th, 2026. The 5 p.m. ransom deadline in Tucson expired 4 hours ago. No cryptocurrency wallet address was delivered. No proof of life image surfaced. No additional communication has been made public. The silence feels overwhelming. And within that silence, another development unfolded today that almost no one anticipated. Tom Brokaw, 86 years old, the defining voice of network news for an entire generation, the anchor of NBC Nightly News through wars, elections, 9/11s, and 5 decades of history, ended a long-held personal silence. He did not appear on television. He did not grant an interview. He did not publish an opinion piece. Instead, he spoke privately and deliberately to a small circle of former colleagues and close friends gathered at his New York home this afternoon. There were 8 people in total. No reporters. No cameras. No recordings permitted. Just coffee, a handful of chairs arranged in a circle, and Tom. Still sharp, still thoughtful. Finally articulating what he has carried for years. At 7:14 p.m. Eastern, one of those 8 attendees contacted me and asked whether I wanted to hear what had been said. I agreed. What follows is neither rumor nor speculation, nor anonymous claims disguised as fact. This is a detailed recounting of what Tom Brokaw shared this afternoon, relayed by someone seated 3 feet away from him. And it cuts directly to the core of why Savannah is navigating this crisis the way she is. Tom began without introduction. I've known Savannah since she was the new arrival on the 4th floor at 30 Rock. She was about 30 or 31. Driven, polished, almost excessively polite. But there was something else I noticed immediately. Something I had seen before in people raised by a certain type of parent. He paused before continuing. She carried her mother with her like a second pulse. Not in a sentimental, call every Sunday kind of way. More like her mother was still in the control booth directing the broadcast. And I don't think most people understand how absolute that influence has always been. Leaning forward, Tom appeared as though he was recounting a story long rehearsed in his mind. Nancy Guthrie didn't raise 3 children alone after her husband died by being gentle. She did it by being unbreakable. And she expected the same from her kids. Not out of cruelty, but necessity. She believed weakness invited punishment from the world, so she ensured her children never displayed any. He added, Savannah absorbed that lesson earlier and more deeply than most children absorb anything. Tom then shared a memory none of the 8 had heard before. When Savannah was offered the co-anchor position on the Today Show, the pinnacle promotion of her career. She did not first contact her agent. She did not first call her husband. She called Nancy. According to what Savannah later confided to Tom, she said, Mom, they want me to co-anchor the Today Show. Nancy's response was direct. That's fine. Just don't let it inflate your ego, and don't let them see you sweat. You're there to work, not to be liked. Tom looked around the room and reflected. She told me that story with pride, not resentment. Pride. She was proud that her mother reminded her to stay grounded at the exact moment when most people would have been shouting with joy. That's the emotional economy they've operated in since Savannah was a child. Approval comes from discipline, not vulnerability. Love is demonstrated through performance, not need. He allowed that to settle before continuing. Now look at this week. Watch how Savannah addresses the camera. She thanks the public first. She describes her mother's character. She acknowledges the ransom reports. Only then does she make a direct plea. That is an instinct. That's training. That's Nancy's choreography. Savannah is still following the steps she was taught. Never reveal panic. Never show desperation. Never lose composure. Because composure was the only currency that ever earned her mother's respect. When someone asked whether Nancy would truly disapprove if Savannah broke down on camera, Tom answered immediately. I believe Nancy would be horrified. Not because she lacks love for her daughter. She loves her deeply. But because she spent 46 years teaching Savannah that surrendering to emotion equals losing. And Nancy never lost. Not after her husband's death. Not while raising 3 children alone. She didn't cry publicly. She didn't beg. She solved problems. And she expected the same. Tom added something especially difficult to hear. In all my years knowing her, I've seen Savannah cry exactly twice. Once discussing her father-in-law's death. Once about her daughters facing hardship. Both times she stopped within seconds, wiped her eyes, smiled, and shifted topics. That's not innate strength. That's conditioning. And that conditioning is what's holding her upright right now, though it may eventually overwhelm her. He turned to the February 7th video, when she said, "We will pay," something twisted in my gut. Not because the statement was wrong. It was necessary. But because of the delivery. She spoke as though reciting treaty terms. No tremble. No visible anguish. Just precision and resolve. That's not how most daughters sound when offering millions for their mother's life. That's how a soldier sounds when reporting to command. And Savannah is still reporting to command. Even when command is missing, endangered, or potentially without medication, the chain of command still exists in her mind. When asked how long she could sustain that composure, Tom answered quietly, I don't know. She's exhausted. You can see it in her eyes. The brightness is fading, but she refuses to let it disappear. Because letting it fade would mean admitting she can't fix this. And admitting that would feel like failing her mother. The one judgment she has spent her life trying to avoid. He shared another memory. Years ago, during a particularly challenging period in Savannah's personal life, she arrived early one morning and whispered, I called Mom last night. I told her I was struggling. Nancy had responded, You've handled worse. Handle this. Savannah then told Tom, so I'm handling it. She smiled faintly and went on air as if nothing had happened. That's who she is, Tom said. That's who Nancy shaped her to be. He concluded that portioned with a solemn observation, Savannah Guthrie is more than a co-anchor, more than a mother, more than the daughter of a missing 84-year-old woman. She is the living embodiment of a belief system that says love must be earned through invincibility. And right now she's trying to remain invincible for the person who taught her that was the only way to deserve love. Tom asked those present not to rush to social media. Let the investigation proceed. Let the deadline pass. But when this ends, however it ends, someone must tell the human story, not just the crime. The story of a daughter who has spent 4 decades proving she's worthy of her mother. He ended that segment quietly. If Nancy comes home, I hope she finally tells Savannah she doesn't have to prove anything. Tom did not stop there. He asked the group to consider the timeline since February 1st. Not law enforcement's chronology, but the family's public pacing. The initial silence. The delayed statement. The careful construction of each message. She waited 3 days before speaking, he observed. Most daughters would have posted in tears immediately. Savannah waited until she could speak flawlessly. Thanking supporters, framing her mother as strong and faithful, addressing the captor with dignity. That delay reflects Nancy's influence. When asked whether Savannah fears disappointing her mother even now, Tom responded, yes. She likely believes she is still being evaluated, as though this is a final exam. The grade being determined by whether she maintained composure. He recalled anchoring through countless crises and watching families unravel publicly. Savannah hasn't done that once. Every appearance has been controlled. That isn't mere strength, that's survival training. Tom described another career setback Savannah endured years ago. After a professional misstep that drew criticism, she maintained impeccable poise publicly. Later, privately, she shed a few restrained tears before saying, I called Mom. She told me you fix mistakes. You don't wallow. So I'm fixing it. She wasn't seeking comfort, Tom reflected. She was demonstrating compliance with the code. When asked what would happen if Nancy did not return, Tom paused longer than at any other moment. She won't collapse publicly. She'll thank everyone. She'll speak clearly at a memorial. She'll hug her children and return to work. But inside, she'll carry the verdict that she failed the final assignment. He softened then. But if Nancy comes home, and I pray she does, I hope someone tells Savannah she never had to earn love. She was enough from the beginning. Tom requested discretion for now. Let the investigation breathe. But eventually, the deeper story must be told. The cost to a daughter taught that breaking was forbidden. He ended almost in a whisper. I hope when Nancy is safe again, she gives her daughter permission to be human. That was the essence of what Tom Brokaw shared in that quiet living room. No microphones, no spectacle. Just an 86-year-old journalist reflecting on decades of observation. Savannah Guthrie is not only fighting to rescue her mother, she is defending the only model of love she has ever known. One equating strength with belonging. That lesson sustains her now, yet it may also confine her indefinitely. Tonight, the Tucson desert remains cold. The deadline has passed. The silence persists. Somewhere within it, a daughter still listens for her mother's voice. The voice that guided, demanded, and loved her. Say Nancy's name again. Hold hope. And if she returns, when she returns, perhaps Savannah can finally hear the words she has waited 46 years to hear. You did enough. You have always done enough. You can rest now. If you would like anything further done with this piece, just let me know.